Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And the new Hinata Sakaguchi, the Ballroom Knight, has released the second character of the Protectors of Peace meta, and she's fairly good in a niche scenario. But should you summon for her? Well, the quick answer is no, because nobody should be summoning, because in case you didn't know, the third anniversary is in 2 months. So no one should be summoning on anything right now if they want to be smart with their crystals. But why should you not summon for Hinata? Well, let's talk about that right now. First off, she is the only character on this banner that is new. It is a single new featured unit banner, which already has a lot less value than even the first banner with Masayuki and Rimuru, because there's two new characters there. Alright, so that's already lowering the value of the banner itself. And looking into it, it has the same EX and other featured units as the other banner. It has Tempest Elite Rimuru, and then it has World of Fantasy Hero and Shizu, Light Hero and Wind Shizu. All three of these other characters are really not that good. So even the side featured EX characters, not super useful anymore. They're all the Hero and Shizu are over a year and a half old now, almost at this point, and Rimuru is just a single target DPS, and that's it. He doesn't really bring anything else to other teams that you would want a support character for. He is not a support. He is a damage character. So he's not going to help someone do damage. Hinata, again, is a luxury unit. The other featured characters, the Space Masked Hero, Water Alice, the Water Hinata, Water Rimuru, and then the OG Fire Shizu, they're all very, very old. The Masked Hero, very easily the best out of all of them, but still, the Masked Hero came out 2 years ago. Almost 2.5. It's been a long time. So, what does Hinata do? As just straight up, what does she do? She does a lot of things, and she does a lot of things fairly well also, but she also is kind of limited. So she is physical, she's dark, Protectors of Peace, she's a Will Commander, she uses a Dark Claw. There's a lot of characters that do that, so you probably have one lying around. Her ult is a single target with no additional effect. Her first skill, the one that we didn't know from the skill preview earlier this morning, all allies physical attack for 70%. So that is along the lines of Tempest Elite Benimaru, Fount of Wisdom Rimuru, the Commander Shizu, the Primal Demon Guy. They're all giving physical attack buffs of whatever percentage. Hinata is kinda right in the middle, and she gives that for 1 turn. So that's only good for physical allies. If you're running a magic team, it means nothing. The second part, decreases all targets' crit resistance by 50% for 1 turn. And that is fairly good. 50% crit resistance down is pretty powerful. But if you use more than 300 skill points in a turn, it doubles, and it goes up to 100% crit resistance down, which is obviously really good. Really, really good. But you do need to use 300 skill points in a single turn, which means that you're going to be locked to a stacking team that has the ability to use 300 skill points, and then another 80 on top of that to be able to maximize the use of this Hinata. So she needs to be on a physical team, on a stacking physical team, or at least, yeah, have a way to use 300 skill points to maximize this buff. That's 2 limitations right there that people may or may not have access to. You might not have a good stacking team. You might not have a physical team. You might have Exalted Champions and they're only magic. This Hinata wouldn't really do much for you with her big-time buff. So that's kind of unfortunate. She's really good for physical teams that want to crit. Don't get me wrong. This is a very good skill. And when you can use it, it's going to be very, very powerful. But it's kind of the same thing as the Dark Soe that came out last month, because he operates in almost the same way. He gives a 70% attack buff to magic allies only, and then he gives a 50% synergy power, and if you use 300 skill points, it doubles, and it's 100% synergy power. It's the same skill for different things. So if you already didn't like how limited and restricted the Soe is, you're also not going to like this new Hinata's buff. They do buff different things, but that doesn't make it any better. It just kind of cancels out. Her second skill is the one that we already knew of from the skill preview. It applies the multi-hit state to green orbs specifically, which means that every time you send one green orb, you are hitting 3 times. Once for the actual orb, and then the 2 additional hits from this skill, which does help us get Masayuki a little bit more charged up, because Masayuki can do up to 40% attack in 1 turn. If you send 6 green orbs, that's 18 hits. That's 24% of Masayuki's attack buff per turn. That is double what a lot of stacking protectors do that do 12% stacks of attack or whatever. So already that's very good. But it's only for green orbs. And if you're using her on a team that doesn't need multi-hits for something, these hits don't really add that much damage. Like, they really don't. And then on top of that, she does buff everybody's ult damage by 10% every time you use this skill. So you have a generic thing right here. You have this very, very niche skill effect here. Because again, I'm not bringing this Hinata on Exalted Champions or the Idolmaster team or the Overlord team because she adds multi-hits to the orbs. Like that's not a good use. Especially not because those teams are magic-based, where, again, she's giving physical, and only the Overlord team is crit-focused to begin with. But I'm still not going to bring her to buff Ainz, because Ainz is not physical, which means this buff means nothing to him. And all of the stacking green magic teams are magic. The first anniversary Veldora team with Dark Milim, that's magic-focused. The Overlord Rimuru team with Ainz and Shoutir and Albedo and Nabe and Shizu, that's magic. The other stacking green team is the Idolmaster team, another collab team, which is also magic-focused. So this Hinata does not really have a good use outside of the current Protectors of Peace team, which does not bode well for people trying to summon for her, thinking that they're going to just slap her onto a green-focused team and call it a day. It's not how it's going to work. She doesn't have a lot of use for this skill. She does have use for some teams with this skill if you replace her for a different character, or if you replace a character for her. It might not be the most perfect fit because some stages don't want crit. Some stages you want magic characters, and in that case you're going to have probably better options. This skill is powerful. It's limited, but it's powerful. This skill right here is limited and gimmicky. And these skills are most of the time the worst skills, because there's only one specific scenario and one specific team that it's really useful for, and it's kind of shit everywhere else. I don't really like those kinds of units that are shit for half of their kit. Thankfully, her actual trait is good. Her Valor trait nerfs blues, that doesn't really matter that much, but her actual trait is Protection Gauge every 2 turns. That is very powerful. We don't have a lot of dark characters that have that trait. We have Albus that does turn 3. We have Octogram Lumi that does the first 3 turns, and then she doesn't have a trait after that. So Hinata having Protection Gauge every 2 turns is very nice. But that also requires dupes, which you shouldn't be summoning for her in the first place. So you shouldn't then have dupes unless you got extremely lucky or something. And then she gets extra 20% when she's maxed out, and then she gets extra crit damage with Rimuru. So she's not telling us anything about the third and final unit of the team. So overall, this Hinata is really, really, really good for the Protectors of Peace team. And then she's okay for a physical stacking team, and this second skill, at that point, means nothing. She might as well not have a second skill. Yes, you can get a little bit of extra ult damage out of it, but it's not going to be a lot. And if you're not on a green team, this doesn't do a single goddamn thing. You'll still get the 10%, but these multi-hits don't matter for blues or oranges. And this is why you should not summon for Hinata. If you don't have Masayuki, at least, this kit is useless. And also, if you have Masayuki but not Hinata, you are going to have to live with the fact that you're never going to max out his actual attack buff, because you need multi-hits. You need to hit 30 times in a single turn to actually max out his attack buff. Because you get 4% every 3 times an ally attacks up to 40%. The math here means you must hit an enemy 30 times in one turn to get 40, and then another 40, and then another 40. So you need to hit 30, 60, 90, 120 times, and on it goes. And if you don't have the Hinata, you can't even hit a fraction of that. Or you're going to do about half. Hinata will enable you to do 24% of this 40% buff. It's very confusing. I have a video going over exactly what this Inspire skill is, so if you're still very confused, please go watch that, and then you'll have a better understanding. Just know that this Masayuki, without this Hinata, will never live up to his true potential. And that's not good, because that requires you to summon for one, a Protector, who is 300 pity, 9,000 crystals if you get very unlucky, and it also requires you to summon for Hinata on a single featured unit banner for 200 pity. This is not great. I do not like units like this. I do not like kits that are just so heavily dependent on each other. I like generic viability. This is not generic viability. This is niche, limited, horribly restricted. So, don't summon for the Protectors of Peace meta. Don't summon for Hinata. If you really, really do love Hinata that much, and there are a lot of people that do, yes, she looks damn good in this dress. I will not deny you that. But she will return on future banners. She is not a limited collab item. She will come back eventually. And if you already don't have the Protectors of Peace Masayuki and Rimuru, she really doesn't serve too much of a purpose for you. So you're not going to really feel that bad about it. There are a lot of other physical buffers for teams that you probably already have. So you don't need this Hinata. But if you did summon for this Hinata with either Koban or you really love her, let me know how your summons went in the comments below. But that's it from me, guys. Take it easy, and I will see you all later.